the unspoilt North Norfolk coastline, the beautiful countryside, and a fine Palladian-style house designed by renowned architect William Kent. This is a place rich in history, architecture and wildlife. Welcome to Holkham. Colin, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Nice to see you.
Yeah,
thank you for welcoming us here to Holkham. This is quite some marble hall, isn't it?
Well, it's absolutely spectacular, isn't it?
Yes.
It's been described as the grandest entrance hall in an English country house, and I think you can see why. The outside of the house itself is quite austere, but the idea is you get that wow factor as you come through into this, what is known as the marble hall. But of course, it's not really marble, it's actually English alabaster. It was the vision of Thomas Cook, a young man that was born here on the estate. He was orphaned at the age of 10 and went to live at a different estate in Derbyshire at Longford, where he stayed until the age of 15. At that point, the Guardians decided to send him off on the Grand Tour, which he goes away on from 1712 to 1718. And whilst he's away, he acquires this fantastic collection of paintings, sculptures that we're going to see today as we walk around the house. And it was already, I think, in his mind that he needed to build a treasure house to house that collection that he had acquired whilst he's on the Grand Tour. Obviously what we see here is Cook's influences from his Grand Tour. So he actually goes off to France, Germany and Italy. He spends at least 3 years in Italy itself. And the ceiling itself is taken from the design of the Pantheon in Rome. What we have in the house itself are the Grand Tour acquisitions that Cook himself made. And then as the house itself is being built, he sends back over to Italy the son of the Clerk of Works, Brettingham Jr., and asks him to purchase pieces for him to come in to fill the space. And this is one great example of that. The statues here are actually plaster. They're plaster copies, or plaster casts or mould, should I say, of really good quality marbles. So by the stage that Brettingham Jr. is on his acquiring these pieces for the house, the great pieces have already been sold or they're no longer available. So it's better to have a really good plaster copy of a great marble than to have an inferior marble in the collection, and that's what we see here in the house. This certainly has the wow factor, and it's great to be here as people come in through that entrance as you have, and just stop in their tracks and look up and just say that word, wow. And I think that's exactly the thing that Thomas himself was looking for when he built this space.
This is quite some room, Colin. Magnificent paintings, extraordinary ceiling again. This is the saloon. What would this room have been used for by the Cook house?
Well, we mentioned the wow factor in the hall, and it just carries on into this room itself, and I think that was the idea. It was really a grand reception room, although it's used for many different things. You know, there's been a ball held here during the time of Queen Victoria. But it's the rich opulence of the room itself which is striking here. The fabric on the wall, for instance, is still the original wall fabric. It's over 300 years old.
My eye is also taken by these magnificent tables you've got here, one on each side of the room, and in particular these birds on the legs. They're quite extraordinary. What do we know about these?
Well, we know that the table itself, or the supports, were designed by William Kent, and they are cranes, and they support this really fantastic mosaic tabletop.
The mosaic is just stunning.
It was one of those things that the English milord expected. If he was going to invest in an excavation, then perhaps they wanted to see something back from it, and it's great that we've got these two pieces here at Holkham.
So Colin, this is a room, again, with a great wow factor, and there's so many here at Holkham, we can't possibly see them all, but I'd be really interested in seeing the statue gallery. Could you take me there?
Yes, of course, Chris. Please, if you'd like to follow me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, Chris, welcome to the statue gallery. It's quite a unique space during its time, because William Kent was also a bit of a landscape designer, and his idea was to try and bring the outside into the house. And this is one of the very first examples of things that usually stay out in the garden, the statue, for instance, being brought into the house for display.
And there's a story behind the purchase of Diana, is there not?
That's right, there's a great story here indeed. And the story goes that the first Earl himself was spent a night in jail for taking that statue itself away from Italy. In fact, it came back to England on board HMS Superb, and he paid around £1,000 for the statue, which is an incredible amount at the time.
Extraordinary. Let's have a look at the chapel, because I know that's another room to look at. So this is the chapel.
Indeed, Chris, and I think you can see there's a complete change of feeling as you come away from those grand state apartments into the wings of the house. And certainly this is a more peaceful space, as you would expect from the family chapel.
And like all of the other rooms, paintings. There are so many paintings in this house.
Again, it is. I think it's got to be one of the most incredible art collections in a country house in England.
And this chapel is still used by the family parts of the year, isn't it? Indeed,
that's right. So the local church is St Withburgers, which is within the estate itself. But during the winter, there's no heating there. So the congregation come here to the chapel at Holkham from Remembrance Sunday onwards round to Easter.
No, it is a wonderful room, and thank you very much for bringing us here, and thank you indeed for showing us around all of these rooms today. It's been marvellous.
Well, no, it's been a great pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The deer park here at Holkham is 660 acre, and that's set within the 3,000 acre park, which is all enclosed by a 9-mile wall. The deer we've got here at the minute are red deer, originate from Woburn. We came in here about 10 years ago. We've also got a herd of fallow deer, West Spring count about 400. Again, you got your production in the summertime, then we're culling through the winter time.
So, and have you developed a relationship with them? Do they associate your vehicle with food?
Yeah, I think that's all they associate. That's all we have them associate for food. I feed them, we try and keep them in, so I can feed them probably 20-30 metres off. Come on.
The nature reserve and the estate in general is phenomenal for wildlife. It'd probably be easier to say what we haven't got than what we have got, but we've got a lot of extremely rare wildlife here. We've got a lot of rare wildlife that's here in abundance as well, which reflects the good habitat and the sort of land management that's behind that goes into to maintain high numbers. Throughout the year it's pretty good for birds. Down on the reserve in the winter we have flocks of sort of 50,000 pink-footed geese that come through. They're quite a spectacle to see as the sun sets.
Here at Holkham, Lord Cook's very green and always searching to be more green. And one way is biomass boilers. We have these fantastic woods, which means we can sustainably produce enough wood chip for our boiler here. We chip normally about 1,000 cubic metres a year, which is an awful lot of wood chip. And that goes into heating the big hall and also goes into heating the hotel here, the Victoria and the pub.
The estate works with the local community in many ways, and they've been working with the Burnham Market Primary School to design the beautiful flower beds in this part of the walled gardens. So whilst you're having a look at some of the wonderful work that the pupils did from that primary school, I'm just going to take 5. See you in a minute.
There's no doubt we are, and I am, incredibly fortunate to live and work in such a beautiful place. I mean, it is a very, very great privilege, and I'm very fortunate. We've got a fantastic team. I mean, really wonderful people. I mean, I see myself simply as the manager of the Ministry of Talent. That's my job, really, to help and support people to be brilliant at what they do. Because Holkham is an incredibly diverse estate, even by modern estate standards. So I once counted up 32 different businesses. I mean, we do the lot. Somebody asked if they could do a bit of sailing on the lake, showing people how to sail. And then we suddenly realised that the lake was a resource that we weren't using. And as a result of that, we've now got kayaks and some zorbing. That's quite something. People wandering around in these great big translucent balls and wandering across the lake. farming is in our DNA. As children watching this will know, the four-course rotation was invented by Cook of Norfolk together with a number of other notable farmers. So Holkham is one of England's great estates. It's got land, sea and heritage. It has everything. And there was a time in the 19th century when people used to travel from all over Europe to see what Cook of Norfolk was doing with the four-course rotation. And my vision for Holkham is that people will again come to Holkham to see exactly what we're doing to set benchmarks for other estates.
A trip to this estate is not just a visit around the magnificent 18th century house. It's the sweeping coastal landscapes, the precious woodland for the wildlife. It's the fallow and red deer that roam free, the walled garden, the thatched ice house, the museum, the activities for all the family. It is that and so much more. This is Holkham, truly one of the stately homes of Norfolk.